All right. Well, welcome everybody to another session of You Learn, You Turn with You Turn Health. We've got our co-host Hamilton Baden today, and our guest is Nate Randle, who I like to say is LinkedIn famous. That's how I met or saw him for the first time, and I just loved what he had to say about his company Gabb and everything he has to do with the bettering the mental health of our youth. I'll let him tell you about his company, but I really want to start out with asking three questions so we can orient our audience to you, get to know you a little bit better. So, are you okay with that, Nate?
Perfect. And it's good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, glad to have you. All right. So, when you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be an attorney. So
Mm,
I thought I was going to go to law school. And the only reason that I believed that was because my second dad, my real dad, was an attorney. And
mm.
I grew up watching Scooby-Doo in his conference room at the law firm, and no one talked to me about careers. So I was like, well, my dad's an attorney, so I'm going to be an attorney. I went all the way through taking the LSAT and applying, and then thankfully decided I didn't want to do that because it's not me, but I wanted to be an attorney.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Kudos to you for taking the LSAT. My daughter's boyfriend is doing that right now, and it's no fun. So what do you like to do for fun?
So I'm a dad of four. So most of my fun is chasing them wherever they're at, from all the sports and dance competitions to paddleboarding on the lake. I love fly fishing, fantasy football, fantasy sports, golf, love to golf, would golf every day if I could, but work and family.
Hey Nate,
Keep,
where do you live? Where do you live? I'm butting in. Where do you live?
yeah, I live in Highland, Utah. So I'm about 30 minutes south of Salt Lake.
Oh, cool. Good golf there.
Yeah, some of the prettiest courses in the country, I think. But yeah, fly fish, golf, and spend a ton of time with my kids.
Love
Love
it.
it.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Bullies,
Mm,
stand them.
can't
Bullies
either.
that bully kids, bullies that bully people with handicaps and disabilities, bullies in corporate America that think because of a title or how much money they make that they can disrespect people. I am a bullier of bullies. I have zero respect for them. That's my biggest pet peeve by far.
That's great. I don't like bullies either. And our kids certainly online bullying is terrible. So tell us uh, about Gab and what it is, what the mission is, and then we'll dive in a little bit around the mental health of our youth.
And Nate, let me add one thing. Not only what it is, but why'd you start? Like what's the passion behind it?
Yeah, of course. So Gab is safe tech for kids. And I'll go to why we started it first. If you have a kid between the age of 8 and 18, somewhere in that journey, they're begging for a smartphone. And these smartphones were never built for our kids. Not one senior executive at the major trillion-dollar tech company sat in a room and said, let's build this smartphone for kids. They built it for adults and they sell it to kids. Well, think of anything in life that's built for adults and sold for kids. We could go through a long list. And most of those things kids should not be engaging with. Well, with Gabb, we realized that if we want to be safely connected to our kids as parents, what were the options? And the options in the market before we came in were an adult smartphone for 800 to 1200 bucks that had all the dangers and addictions that no kid is ready for. Even with parental controls, they're not ready for it. And then there was a flip phone. And what we found with flip phones, limited functionality and features, kids were getting bullied if they had a flip phone. Parents thought they were doing a service to their kids by keeping them away from the dangers and addictions. And what was happening in junior highs and high schools, and is still happening today, if you have a flip phone, it means two things. Your parents don't trust you because you already got busted for porn, drugs, sexting, whatever it may be. Or your parents don't have enough money to afford the nicer things. And so you get teased for one of those two things. You're not trusted or you don't have enough money. And when we realized those two extremes, a flip phone or a smartphone, there was this Grand Canyon in the middle.
Yeah.
And we dropped in and made a product that looked like a smartphone, but was stripped of all the adult features that allowed a kid to talk and text with some monitoring on it in a safe way with parents and friends. The demand has been through the roof in the 3.5 years we've been doing this. So it's clear that there's a need, but that's why we started it, is there wasn't something safe for kids. So everything we built has been from the ground up. We could care less about the adult market. We're not focused on it. When we sell a product, it's specifically with protecting kids in mind.
So Nate, it sounds like it's, and if I'm hearing you correctly, it's not about the technology, it's about what the technology connects the people to.
Yes, so we believe in tech.
Yeah.
A lot of parents and people reach out, even angry at me, and say, how could you be anti-tech? You're taking tech away from. No, we believe in safe steps in tech.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. A 9-year-old does not need a smartphone. They don't. Try to justify it 1,000 different ways, and you can tell me you're going to put the parental controls on it and you're going to monitor it. But that 9-year-old does not need. I mean, the phones on smartphone, the tech on smartphones now is NASA level of technology. I mean, it's next level. So we believe in tech, but we want kids to take safe steps with their parents or guardians as they mature and learn about how to use the tech. Too much tech all at once is overwhelming our kids.
Yeah. And so, hey, I don't know how personal you want to get. What's the range? You don't have to tell me everything, but what's the top range of your kids and the lowest range?
Yeah. So I've got almost 21 now to 12. We have 4. And I've got 2 kids on our products. The older ones have moved on to adult devices.
They graduated.
Yeah, they graduated. Still paying for them, but they graduated. Yeah. But my 12 and 15-year-old use our products. And I can share more details as we talk. Do they want a smartphone? Absolutely. Are they left out sometimes on some of the social media things? Sure. But I have happy, healthy kids.
Yeah.
Not looking on screens 8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, the reason I asked you that question is I have a funny story. Liz, I don't know if you ever heard this or not. So my daughters are almost 30, 26, and 19, almost 20. And what's fascinating is the 30-year-old, when she was a kid, she would talk to people on the phone and she would do a little texting. When the 26-year-old was coming up, I remember her being in an argument with someone and I said, why don't you just call them? And her response to me is, that would be weird. That would just be weird. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Now the 20-year-old, they don't text at all. It's all Snapchat. I mean, everything is Snapchat. It's just such a crazy thing to see the evolution of the technology and how they adapt to it.
Yeah. Well, so Nate, you have this great product. How do you sell it? Do you market to schools, parents, or do you is it word of mouth? Because I saw you on LinkedIn is how I found out about it, but not everybody's on there.
Yeah, all of the above. So most of our business has been driven through our website, gabb.com. And we recently started selling on Amazon. We're opening up other channels. We also sell through a lot of moms and dads and word of mouth, them just talking in their circles. And if one mom buys a watch or phone, usually a circle of 8 to 10 friends are following shortly after because they're seeing the benefits. So we've been in business 3.5, almost 4 years. We have customers in all 50 states. I think because we're in Utah, a lot of people think we're a Utah business. Only 20% of our business is in Utah, which we're very grateful for, but 80% of it is out.
Yeah.
That's great.
We have customers from Connecticut to Alaska, down to Texas and over to Florida. And there's this wave of parents realizing that more than likely they have an older kid that got in trouble with an iPhone.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, I made a mistake. I'm not going to make the mistake with other kids that I have coming up in their ages and in school. And so they're looking for alternatives, and we've been that alternative.
So Nate, what's the biggest challenges? You obviously are probably an expert at this. So, U-Turn Health, we deal a lot with behavioral health issues, mental health, substance misuse, stuff like that. What are the biggest challenges that we're seeing with kids with the access to the different, whatever it is? Is it, and the reason I asked that is I always joke when I was in high school, I was like a ninth grader. I had a pimple on my face. And like a guy said to me, "Hey, you have spaghetti on your face." And there was like 5 or 6 people standing around, and I was embarrassed and it was humiliating. I couldn't imagine him posting that and a million people seeing it. Like it would have devastated me. So like, what's the biggest problems that you're seeing with the access to this stuff that you guys are trying to prevent?
Two things. The first is our kids, this generation, they do less in person and more virtually. So our kids are making less eye contact. They're shaking less hands.
Yeah.
They're in less uncomfortable situations where they have to carry a conversation. And now, I mean, my 15-year-old, who's a great kid, a couple weekends ago, Friday night, he's sitting on the couch at 9:30 at night. I said, "Aren't you going out with your buddies tonight?" He said, I'm with my buddies." "What do you mean you're with your buddies?" "Well, they're all on their couches in their homes playing some game on their phones."
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem. Not hanging out on a Friday night with friends, you're justifying that you're connected online, but you're not socializing and you're not learning how to interact and bring other people into a conversation. And so kids are extremely socially awkward when they step out into the quote unquote real world because they don't know how to navigate those relationships. So that's the first thing. Kids are losing the opportunity to connect in person and learn how to manage those relationships. The other thing, and you just hit on it, social media is crushing our kids. When I was in junior high and high school, if I didn't get invited to something, I may never find out about it, or I may find out about it in 2 or 3 weeks. If a kid doesn't get invited to prom or isn't invited to the Friday night pizza and dance party, they're watching it live on their phones in their room by themselves, feeling extremely depressed because I can't believe I didn't get invited to that.
Yeah.
And kids, unfortunately, want to announce how great their lives are and what they're doing. So they're out posting it everywhere.
Yeah.
But the person they didn't invite is seeing it. And it's a little bit of, you're not invited and let us show you what you're missing out on. And it is driving depression, suicide, self-harm, bullying, all of it through the roof. I mean, you both know, you're experts in the field, at rates we've never seen before because our kids are feeling alone, feeling like they're by themselves.
You know how I took myself off social media because it's a comparison problem. I don't even know I'm doing it, but I just felt like every time I went on Instagram, I felt yuck, for a better word. I can't tell you what it was from. I can't tell you a specific post, but I always felt a little bit kind of gross and down, and like maybe, internally I was thinking, God, my life really kind of sucks. I'm not out there doing this and I'm not out there doing that. I can't imagine being a 15-year-old girl and seeing 10 of her closest friends at a sleepover or getting together somewhere where she wasn't included. The comparison goes way up. And so as a 53-year-old woman who can't handle social media, and yet we expect 15-year-olds to handle it, it's mind-boggling. And I really, I don't know. I really love what you're doing. And I think that when you said a flip phone makes people get bullied because they're not part of the group. What if you went into schools? What if it was mandated that every school, if you have a phone at school, it has to be a Gabb phone from age 9, which is way too young to have a phone anyway, but up until 16 years old. I mean, how cool would that be to mandate Gabb?
From a business perspective, that'd be pretty cool, huh, Nate?
It's easy for me to say that would be cool because it'd be nice for our business. Here's the reality, though, and the core of why what we're doing works. Do I want kids and parents to experience the safety of Gabb? I do. Sorry. But more importantly, what I want is for kids to feel like they have hope and a chance. And so whether that's a Gabb device or a parent who is just emotionally invested in making sure that their kids are not lost in this virtual world where They are feeling like they're not good enough. And living in an area where not one kid should ever be in a position to want to commit suicide, and yet we have them happening in our neighborhood, in our city at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
Gabb would be nice, but what I want more is for kids to know that we care.
Mm.
Part of what's happening with these devices and with these addictions to screens is parents unintentionally hand it over with the best intentions. I love my kid. I want him to be accepted, but we don't have time to manage and stay on top of it and monitor it. And 15-year-old or 14-year-old developing minds are not mature enough to navigate it by themselves. And then they wake up, whether it's 2 months in or 2 years in, and these parents, I can't tell you how many parents I talk to each week where they say, but my daughter's the captain of the dance team, or my son's the quarterback, and he has a 3.8 grade point average. Like, grade point averages and scholastic achievements and sport achievements have nothing to do with whether or not your kid feels alone or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest, most talented, high achieving kids are committing suicide.
Right.
Because if they don't get invited to that one thing and then it all implodes on them and they feel like, I'm out, people don't like me, they panic and they immediately react, because we're in this self-gratification world of, I want it now. And kids, instead of processing for weeks and months if they should take their lives, are doing it in a matter of minutes because it feels so overwhelming and the anxiety hits and they don't know how to manage it all.
Yeah. And I don't think, kids' frontal lobes aren't developed yet. I don't think they realize the finality of what they're doing either. I think it's almost become cliche in that, and it's absolutely devastating. And the other thing we haven't even talked about, and this has just popped up recently, is there's a new addiction in this country. I mean, there's sex addiction, there's gambling addiction, there's alcohol, there's drugs, there's all this. There is now literally technology addiction. And there's a lady up in and I can't remember her name, she's in Northern California, that's become really the foremost expert on that. But there are people that if they don't have their phone, or if they don't have that technology, they literally lose it. And it's a new thing that's happening, and we've got to figure that out now too.
Yeah, the Surgeon General just came out. I don't know if either of you have seen it. If not, check it out. Surgeon General came out, and the summary was, the addictions to technology and screens and the way it's sucking the life out of our kids is as dangerous as cigarettes.
Wow.
So we would never sit down at a kitchen table now and say, hey, son or daughter, you're headed to junior high or high school. I'm going to slide you a pack of Marlboros and let's have a smoke together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chances of a parent doing that are zero right now, because we all know the dangers. But we're sliding these phones, and then when our kids are at the bottom of the deep end of the tech pool and they're drowning, and we're looking down in there trying to see what's going on, we're shocked that they're drowning. And then by the time we get them out of the water and we're trying to resuscitate any positive experience with tech, they're too far gone. I have parents say, well, if I took the phone now, I don't have a relationship with my kid.
Right.
The kid won't talk to me.
What do you say to them? I may or may not be one of those parents.
I wish I had a perfect answer, but the reality is it's going to be a lot of work. I mean, you have to take steps. You rip a smartphone away from a kid that's addicted, and you have major issues because they don't know how to function without it. Yeah. So it has to be baby steps off of it. I have parents say, well, he or she did XYZ and I took the phone and they're grounded from it for a month. I'm like, oh man,
I'd hate to see their bedroom. Whew.
Yeah. So my only advice, which isn't perfect advice, is you've got to take slow and defined steps to get back into a more realistic place with that technology. Because if you rip it away, it's like taking a drug from a drug addict or alcohol from an alcohol addict. It is the withdrawal is overwhelming for these kids, and it's actually doing more harm than good. The steps are important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, the way to solve that is use a device like yours in the beginning and don't ever get them started.
Yeah, and that's part of it, right? Is again, we have people say, well, you're not you're not creating a realistic experience for kids. They're going to be on social media eventually. Cool, yeah. At 16, not at 9.
Yeah.
You have a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old in Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram. You are losing them, and it's not if, but when. And then when they're way too far into it and you want to pull them all the way back, wishing you had never started it, good luck. It's too late.
Yeah.
It really is too late. It is a really hard thing to reverse.
God. Well, that's depressing for those of us who have children with smartphones. Although, like, I sound like one of the parents you're talking about, we have made great strides in the parameters that we're able to put on the phone. But you know what's, and I don't know, Nate, if you've seen this, but my girls, I have 2 girls and a son, and he doesn't have the interest in, he's not even on Instagram. Like, he never wanted to be. He's almost 16, and he's like, what's the point? Like, he just doesn't, it's not appealing to him at all. And he loves to turn his phone off at night because he loves his sleep. The girls, completely different. They did all of their communications through the phone. They had their face, so are you finding it more prevalent usage with girls than boys? Just curious.
No, I think
Okay.
there are just as many boys addicted as there are girls. And this might be overgeneralizing a bit, and I always try to be extremely careful of that. What's unfortunately happening for girls is their confidence is coming from likes and comments. And so if I can present a selfie a certain way or an image of me a certain way, and I can have that popular person in school or in my neighborhood or club or sports team like and comment, the endorphins and boost of that person engaging with you, although they may never acknowledge you in real life, is so exhilarating that the confidence is made or broken through those posts.
Yeah.
And so we spend a lot of time educating, saying, would that, and we say this to teen boys and girls, would that individual that you're so extremely excited about engaging with your post, would they acknowledge you in person? Would they take the time to sit with you in the lunchroom or come to your birthday party? If they're not showing up in any of those situations, then you need to balance the value of what they mean to you virtually, because it's not the same.
Right.
So the kids will say, yeah, I've never even talked to that person.
Oh, I see that. I see that. Well, and it doesn't help. And I'm going to say something that probably is not politically correct, but I don't care.
Oh, gosh.
You get these, I'm not going to cuss, but you get these idiots that pop up overnight that are now the most successful, rich as hell people because they posted something about themselves and it went viral. And they're now like, my kids, there are people that are social media stars that they think are celebrities. And unfortunately are everybody thinks they're celebrities because they are, but it's just celebrity means something very different these days than it did when we were all growing up. It's crazy.
Yeah, like Kardashians set the pace for what it takes. And that's the new expectation or new level, is the Kardashians are more famous than pick anyone that we'd want our kids to think is more deserving of follow or engagement. And I don't know the Kardashians, but I don't think the background is there for our kids to say, no, that's who I want to be
when I grow up. Yeah.
It's visibility now is popularity, and popularity is a platform, and a platform gives you a voice to say whatever you want, whenever you want to say it. And our kids are engaged with all of it.
Yeah.
So
Nate, I want to ask a question more personal about you, because on LinkedIn, you always, and all of our listeners need to go follow Nate on LinkedIn. It's the only social media I'm on, can you tell? So I talk it up a lot, but I do it for work. And Nate, you always are giving free devices and helping single parents. What is your drive there? What gives you that fire to help these single parents out there?
My biological dad quit on my family when I was 5. Didn't pay child support. My mom gave him every opportunity to prioritize, and he didn't. So he walked out when I was 5. left my mom, myself, and my baby sister. She's roughly 2 years old. I call her my baby sister. She's 46 years old. But he left the three of us, and my mom had to go hustle a couple of jobs just to survive. And I'll never forget it. I mean, when I say we had next to nothing, we had next to nothing. And from that, she found an incredible individual who he's not my biological dad, but I call him my real dad.
Yeah.
She got remarried a few years after my biological dad left. And then unfortunately, very briefly into their marriage, she got in a tragic car accident and passed away.
Oh my gosh.
So I lost both of my biological parents by the time I was 10. And I was raised in a home with somebody I didn't know him that well. He was my mom's husband, and I was trying to figure my way with him. And the way he raised me and the things he taught me I would not be where I'm at today without him. And so I've never really had a home with two parents.
Gotcha.
I feel like with all the support and love and help I had, I beat the statistics, because it's a very high probability that a kid that loses their parents before the age of 10 is not going to make it. And I made it. And now
Hey, Nate, let me, I missed that. I missed that. I didn't hear it right. So
Yeah.
repeat it. So your mom was married, your biological dad left, then she married another man who became your father, and then your mom passed away?
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude. Sorry, I can't get myself with the cussing.
Oh, right.
Dude, that is unbelievable. So your stepdad, who's your real dad, actually raised you. That is a phenomenal story.
Yeah, so I lost both of my biological parents by the time I was 10, and then I was stuck being raised by this guy that in my mind wasn't my dad.
Got it.
And I gave him a run for his money at certain stretches, and I own that. But when I look back, his love and guidance on, you may not be my biological kid, but you're my son, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to raise you and give you an opportunity. And now I'm the CEO of the Safe Tech for Kids company. And single parents they have just so many challenges they got to face every day. And now that I'm in a place where I can give back, that's the group or the people that I want to give back to, because my mom was that single mom. My dad was a single dad. And it's very personal for me when I can take care of a single mom or dad in a way that, from their perspective, may even change their life with money donated or product to stay connected to their kids. It's extremely personal, and I'm grateful that it's personal, because it drives me.
It's a beautiful thing. You've helped so many people struggling with cancer, single moms, single dads. I just love it. I love what you do. One final thing I want to discuss, because we do deal with a lot of substance use disorder. I recently read in NIH, and I don't have the exact quote here today, but that there is a direct correlation they have found between social media use and long hours of screen time and substance use disorder. Have you seen that or heard that?
I've heard it. I always want to be cautious of data, and facts are really important to me. And I don't know what the data says, but I do know that loneliness drives addiction in so many instances. And I do have stats that tell me that because of screen addiction, kids are feeling more lonely than they ever have before. And with those stats and facts in our industry, it would not surprise me in the least that substance abuse with kids under 18 could very well be on the rise because of the loneliness and screen addiction. Kids on average are spending 8 hours a day on their phones.
Wow. Well, and Liz, and we don't have time to get into it now. We should have Nate back on and dive into it. Maybe bring somebody clinical on. I also think it has to do with the dopamine, because what happens is when you're on those phones and you're on social media, your brain gets the dopamine the same way as when you take a drink or this or that. And then, so that's a very interesting angle on this stuff.
You may start looking for things to get the dopamine hit from, not just from your phone. That makes sense.
That's right.
Golly. Well, Nate, this has been a great conversation. It's very, the reality is quite difficult to look that in the face. You do it every day, and you come up with a solution. I really wish that every parent who has a young child coming up right now would consider getting a Gabb watch or phone instead of a real smartphone. And if we could come together as a country and show these kids that we're there for them and provide hope and support like your company is doing, what a wonderful world we'd live in, and a lot less suicide and a lot less teen depression and all that. Is there anything else you'd like to leave our audience with today, Nate?
Yeah, thanks to both of you. We actually need less of business leaders like me and more people like you that are invested in our youth. As we have referred kids who we see in deep challenges to psychological or counseling help, the line is 2 to 3 months deep.
Yeah.
Some places are 4 to 5 months deep. Some kids can't get in for a year. How does a kid struggling that needs help beyond a parent, how can they not get in to get counseling or support right now?
Well, that's why they can use U-Turn Health.
Yeah.
It's online, and it's available 24/7. So
so thank you.
Yeah, we will, and we'll put all of your stuff on our webpage when we release this, and so they can have a direct link to your website and all that good stuff. So
Thank
you guys need to play golf sometime. Y'all didn't even talk about that, but
we'll take that up.
Hamilton's a huge golfer.
I would love to come light you up and get you cussing and handing out money everywhere.
It won't take long, my friend. Probably about 30 seconds.
Thanks, you too. Appreciate the time.
Nice to meet you, dude. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks,
Likewise.
Nate.